Welcome back to Maritime SoftwareHub, the People Podcast. This is episode 12, and in this episode, I'm talking to Arthur Richier, who's the head of strategic partnerships at Vortexa. A really interesting guy. He's got a great background, highly educated. He's worked at places like Ernst & Young, S&P, Platts. He's got a really good understanding of the corporate space, and particularly in energy and shipping, and also has some prior background in startups. So we're going to be talking about the role of strategic partnerships, diving into what that means, how he and Vortexa go about kind of approaching businesses they might like to align to, and also we share and then talk about the role of partnerships in businesses and what it means, what he does day to day. So I think you'll find this useful. I really enjoyed speaking to him, and certainly in my stage in my business, I'm keeping an eye out for potential strategic partnerships in it going forward. So it's really interesting for me just to learn a bit more about that myself. So hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening and speaking again soon. Hi Arthur, welcome to the podcast.
Hey Callum, how's it going?
Very good, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on, and I know obviously we've kind of spoken and met each other a few times over the years at different industry events, so delighted to have you join us and a lot to learn from your background. So quick intro for the audience. So Arthur Richier from obviously Vortexa, head of strategic and partnerships, and I really just wanted perhaps maybe if you can give a quick overview of your role and your introduction. You might be doing it slightly better than I can, so if that's okay, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I lead the strategic partnerships here at Vortexa. That means taking care of all our partners, both on the product side, on the marketing side, and on the commercial side. There's an element of strategy as well to make sure that any partnership initiatives are aligned with the product roadmap, as well as our sales organization.
Okay, fantastic. And obviously you've been with the company a little while now. So tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, about your background kind of in the energy and shipping space prior to joining Vortexa.
So I studied a very general business degree. Didn't really have a clue what I wanted to do. So I decided after university to join a very large consulting organization. Again, they didn't seem to be too picky on your grades or what you'd studied. So I went there, I thought it looked good on the CV, and would keep my options open until I really figured things out. Now, at the time, I had done a year of exchange in Singapore at a university there. So they actually posted me up. And the way teams were divided, they were divided by industries. Singapore, massive in shipping, lots of containers especially. And I got posted to the shipping industry team. So, I spent 4 years really immersed within shipping companies there. Luck would have it, I actually started specializing in analytics. Now, mostly around account payables and account receivables to try and see sort of financial flows and trends. Not the most exciting, but definitely the excitement came from the shipping and analytics aspect.
Yeah. And this is Ernst & Young, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Excellent.
I decided to specialize a bit further there, came back to the UK, enrolled in a master's in energy and shipping, and then started work at a price reporting agency, pricing tanker freight rates daily. And they're really sort of starting to get to know the industry more, building a network, going out for beers with brokers, attending conferences, really getting knee deep into the whole ecosystem here in London. And, I was approached by a recruiter, someone just like yourself. And when they brought the Vortexa opportunity along, I was a bit shocked, to be honest, at how sort of well all of my previous experiences, seemed to fit. So I jumped the opportunity, and I've been there ever since. And actually in August, so the week is going to be my 10th year in the industry.
Wow.
Looking at energy and shipping.
Congratulations.
Thank you. No, it's been a great ride.
Good. And yes, and fantastic. I mean, you've worked for some, let's say, fairly corporate businesses, I'd say, EY, S&P, and now Vortexa, I would say. Would you class them as corporate? I'm not too sure what the culture's like internally, but how would you kind of compare those sort of different types of businesses?
No, it's a good question. EY, you can't do more, corporate-y than that. 300,000 employees, I think last time I checked, suit and a tie every day.
Yeah.
And actually, not a lot of people know this, but just before I started my master's, I did work for a startup in Paris. Great startup, mission-driven. They built smart water meters in Africa with a system where you were able to prepay, really using your mobile phone. So there was no need for sort of large expenditures. And it just helped villages really use and fund only with the money that they had. But this startup was working out of a beanbag. Everyone had a hoodie at work. If you weren't a vegan, you were kind of frowned upon. And so I decided, okay, startups are not for me. I'm never going back there. S&P Global,
Okay.
company, but Platts was a very interesting place where, because we were in small teams, you had already kind of that element of doing something very serious, but not necessarily having all the red tape and the hierarchy around. And then Vortexa was perfect because massive industry. I feel that what we're doing is really important. We all have that shared sense of mission. But at the same time, we have a lot of fun doing it. And in the office, we have both normal chairs and beanbags, depending on what you fancy.
So sometimes you can wear a suit and a tie if you need to, but also it's hoodie and sort of t-shirt and things on different occasions, depending on the event and the meeting, I guess. Good. And just like rewind a little bit. So I'm really interested in that project you did, the startup that you were involved in. How did that come about? Was it a friend or someone that you kind of studied with that kind of presented that to you?
So I just had a couple months to kill before the start of my master's, and all the more corporate companies, they would have wanted someone to sign on for longer. There wasn't necessarily any opportunities when it came to contracting work. So a startup was just the easy way into doing some work, because, it was a kind of company at the time that was growing, was still very new. And, they were just happy to have people come in, have an impact for a couple months and then pop out again.
Yeah, no, really interesting. Good to hear. Thank you for sharing and explaining it. So let's talk about Vortexa now. So I guess just really to get a feel for how kind of Vortexa's help, their insights help your client base and your customers. So is there any way you can perhaps elaborate and maybe share with our audience that either do or perhaps don't know Vortexa that well at the moment?
Absolutely. So we're an energy and shipping analytics startup. We track about $1.8 trillion worth of commodities on the water. And we have today the most complete coverage of global flows when it comes to petroleum and gas. So what that means is that our users are then able, either through a web app or using their programmatic skills with the SDK or Python through APIs, to aggregate all that data and harness the value from it. Ultimately, we're shining a light on the industry, on the flows, on which products are moving, where are these products moving, and really sort of plugging the gaps. So either from a hard data perspective, where we provide the value of collating all those data sources globally, and we have more than 100 partnerships today on the data side, but also on the modeling side, where all those gaps where you're just never going to be able to get that data, or it's really difficult or expensive to get that data. We have our modeling that comes then from the inputs of our in-house market experts, plugging in those gaps in order to allow for what is ultimately a very complete and accurate view of flows in the market. So if you think of our clients, we have traders, we have ship owners, we have charterers within trading houses, we have governments, research organizations. It's all about knowing what is going on now, what happened in the past, what's likely to happen in the future. And this in turn helps them with their trading, chartering decisions, with their hedging, with their risk management, or with providing research services then onto their own clients. And so we're helping the ecosystem really understand what's going on.
So your clients would either subscribe to your, like an annual subscription to your reporting, your data feeds, or is it more of an advisory kind of subscription or combination of both?
No, so no advisory or consulting at all. The star of the show here is really our data. Okay. And even in our own research, that is more of a value add, which is not something that we necessarily put forward. Our research is based on our data, and it's our data that we put forward. So, we remain independent, we remain objective. Our research just translates what the data tells you. So not in advisory capacity, companies subscribe, and they either subscribe for access to the web app or they subscribe to the data feed through the APIs, if that's easier for them to consume.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Excellent. And the main theme and kind of subject matter of this particular episode is around strategic partnerships. Obviously, some of you you're very familiar with. So what would be great is perhaps if you could describe or give a quick overview of your role as the head of strategic partnerships, just so our audience can better understand perhaps what you do day in, day out, and what the role in your understanding kind of means to you.
Yes, so my primary function is that of an enabler. And the first aspect of that is enabling collaboration across our partnership ecosystem, and helping drive value across the functions of our organization. So whether that's product, marketing, sales. And then the second aspect is, which is really a result of the first one, is enabling that growth. So if we break that apart, enabling that collaboration, externally, that means acting as a point of contact for all our partners. So these could be satellite data providers, these could be port agents, customs brokers that provide the hard data that then feeds into our product. It could also be media organizations, price reporting agencies, research companies that then help us promote our brand and generate leads for our sales function. So internally, it's really about supporting the need of the data and the product team. And that includes, but isn't limited to, validating customer requirements. We contribute to the alignment of the product as well by allowing partners to feedback on the product, and then also supporting the needs of the marketing team, assisting with go-to-market activities or industry event participation, for example. So in a nutshell, it's really about aligning our strategy in a way which is coherent with our product roadmap, and in turn, communicating that clearly throughout the organization. Now, when it comes to growth, there's really three ways to grow. You can buy, you can build, or you can partner. I mean, each of those have pros and cons. When it comes to buying, you can grow very quickly by acquiring other companies, at least give the impression of growth. But then there's always an element where it's hard to integrate. And sometimes for a lot of companies, if they don't integrate well, the price tag ends up costing a lot more than just the sort of cost of acquisition at the time. But going back to partnerships, discussions around acquisition will usually arise from a partnership conversation. So it's important, to build those partnerships to set the scene for potential acquisitions. When it comes to building, well, as I mentioned previously, in terms of alignment with the product team, if we want to launch a new product, we're probably going to need new hard data sources. We're probably going to need input from industry experts. And this is where, again, the partnership role sort of comes in to help support building those new products. And then the last one, partnering, is the key one. But that can mean, for example, if we wish to expand in a new region, it can mean partnering with local partners to help us accelerate that growth. So yeah, just to summarize, it's about really making sure that internally the strategy, the product roadmap is aligned and communicated clearly. And then from a growth perspective, it's enabling that growth depending on the company's strategy, again, to buy, build, or partner.
Okay. For your personal role, let's say, are you kind of like targeted on the amount of new strategic partners you bring in per year, or is it more kind of bigger picture than that, perhaps about the value of the existing partnerships plus the other ones we've added? Do you have any specific kind of role targets for yourself, or is it not quite measured in that way?
It's a hard one to measure. It's not in terms of quantity. Quality over quantity is better. If I had a target of 10 new partners a year, then I might just try and meet that target without actually thinking about the quality of those partnerships. So it's more about just making sure the support is there. So if we take a step back and we think, okay, this product is what we want to launch this quarter, then my KPI will probably be, okay, ensure that we have, say, 3 hard data partners to support the launch of this product, or ensure that we have an industry partnership to support the branding and marketing of that new product alongside someone. So that's also what keeps it interesting. It's very varied. The targets really change. It can be also, okay, this quarter we need to focus on a specific region. Arthur, go out and build partnerships in that region. I think it's easy to measure in terms of seeing whether it worked or not. Applying data to everything is something we've worked on a lot. And I think, we've made some good progress there. But in terms of KPIs, it's about being super flexible to the needs of the business and the teams at the time.
Okay. And you talked about kind of the quality of those partnerships. How do you go about kind of vetting or kind of analyzing and researching the type of partnerships that you go? Do you have a certain methodology that you take for each one, or is it completely different depending on the scenario?
So what makes a good partner for Vortexa, basically?
Yeah.
At the risk of sounding naive, I look for excitement first and foremost. We're in such an interesting industry, and I really want people to have that genuine interest and curiosity in wanting to work with us and changing the industry for the better. So, the first one I look for is really that shared candid ambition. So now that we know that, they're really interested in working with us, I'll look whether we have something of value to offer to each other. Even though I think partnerships is a space where you can be extremely creative as to how you can go about, building a successful partnership. If it's not that evident from the get-go, why it would be a good fit, then it's okay to let go as well. If you try too hard, you're probably not going to end up with the best partnership at the end of the day. So we've established, we want to work together. We've established we both have something of value. And then the final one is making sure we have the right audience as well, which is going to lead to that sort of cross collaboration, which is going to allow our potential clients or prospects to benefit from our association ultimately. So that's really the three things I'd look out for.
Briefly interrupt this episode to give you a quick overview of our core business, which is Cordell Beaumont. We're the company that powers the podcast. For those of you that don't know of us, haven't heard of us,